Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, and this is on a brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer? And joining me today is somebody that I think is really awesome, and we are going to get into it when we get into this interview, and that is the cosplayer, Chocolate Moldman. Chocolate, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I used to name Talia in cosplay, but I have been called Chocolate Moldman to my face a few times, so I'm used to it.
Okay, well, look, I'm gonna call you Talia because it's like I love that name, and I feel like it'd be weird just saying, "Hey, Chocolate, yo,
Hey,
Chocolate,
Chocolate, how you
hey,
doing?
Chocolate." So thank.
At home, I was approached by that. Somebody called out to me as, "Oh my God, is that Chocolate Moldman?" And I'm like, "The fuck?"
Hey, look, everybody gets one F bomb, and you use yours at the start of the interview.
Damn.
So, so Talia, yeah, thank you so much for joining me up here. And before we get into today's interview, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And as D always says, podcast link down below in the description. Like, follow, subscribe. So let's go ahead and get into today's interview. So Talia, the first question that I ask each and every guest up here is, what is your origin story? Every hero or villain has one. So tell everybody who you are. Tell everybody who you are before you became Chocolate Mold Man.
I was actually talking to somebody before this about what I should say because my actual story is just really bizarre, kind of like JoJo, but
Hey.
let's go for it. So it kind of starts with a little depressing of a bit of beginning, but you know what? I'm happy now, so that's all that matters. But so in the beginning, probably about a good year and a half ago, well, actually 2 years ago, I has great English.
I
I
do the same
had
thing. You're fine.
I wasn't in the best mental place, and I ended up in the hospital for a while. And while I was in there, I was recommended by my therapist that it'd be good to start doing something that I enjoy, I love, as a distraction from everything else. Because I was just so fed up. I was just all I had in my life at that point was just my thoughts in JoJo because I was obsessed with Golden Wind. And I still am. But at the time, I was like, I really like these cosplayers. And there was one in particular, and I'm now decently good friends with them now. And it's really cool to actually have that. But I was like, I want to be like them. Like, it was Kai or Apollo 11. And I saw when they first did their, I think at the time, they just did Miki Taka. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. But I thought about that when I was in the hospital. And I was like, I want to do something artistic. And I want to do something I know I'm going to enjoy. The second I got out of the hospital, I had gone on Amazon. I'm like, I'm gonna get a green wig, and I decided that day I was gonna cosplay Chocolata because I thought he looked really cool. He's interesting, and it wasn't even because I liked the character. It was more because he just like had this really cool presence in his makeup. I'm like, I want to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I've just kept going. And I posted that first day. The first day I was out of the hospital, and I was like, this is what I want to do. And I had one follower and I had maybe 2 likes on it. And I was really pleased. I was thinking, oh my God, I'm getting somewhere. And it's so crazy looking back because actually at home I met my first follower.
That's awesome. I always think it's cool when you meet your followers in person because it's a significant milestone, and being a cosplayer, that it's just like, this is somebody that appreciates your work. And also too, kudos to you. You get a pinky up because of your origin story. I like how it started from where it was at into where you are right now, and you took something negative and turned it into a positive. And just seeing like all of the cosplays that you've done so far, especially JoJo, because it's like, I know Trav and D, they don't like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and like that's the reason why I don't have them up here on Who's That Cosplayer, because I interview a lot of JoJo cosplayers. But I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Some people may say I'm biased, but I just love the JoJo community.
I'm very biased. This fandom is amazing.
It is. And
Well,
then the
at
cosplays,
times.
yeah, at times, and the cosplays are amazing too. So you get a pinky for that, and yeah, continue. You can go ahead.
Thank you.
But
And
oh no, sorry, go ahead.
I'm just thinking to myself, I'm currently just sitting on pins right now because my outfit, I wore it to Anime NYC and it was great. And well, for the few people who did notice who I was and recognize it, But I split it when I was there, and all the pins opened up, and they kind of stabbed me at times.
Ah, hey,
But,
I mean, I've never been. I'm a professional wrestler. I've never been slammed on thumbtack, but I heard it's really, really painful.
oh,
You
it
know,
hurt. It hurts.
yeah. So it's like I can only imagine what you're going through right now. But one thing I wanted to bring up was, and we had talked about this a little bit before we had started the interview, was I love that the cosplays that you do for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure are characters who aren't the main characters. Usually when you go to cons, you see like somebody like me, I always cosplay as Jotaro because I love cosplaying as Jotaro. But seeing the costumes that you've done, like they're either minor characters or other villains that you don't normally see at cons. So, I just want to know, like, what made you want to, be that sort of cosplayer?
That's one of my favorite things. That's actually something I really go for. I always want to be the unique person in that case. But it all came from a fact of when I first started cosplaying, I used to see a lot of hate comments towards people who were bigger, thicker, and plus size. And I am considered plus size myself. And I remember thinking, oh, they're referring to them as the fat version of this character.
Yeah.
And I remember like it used to upset me, and I'm like, that's like what the fuck? Sorry, double on that one. I'm
Hey,
like,
hey, you say it one
like,
more time, I'm gonna have to or you. I'm just letting you know.
damn it. But after that, I saw it. I was like, this is not right. And I saw it happening to my friends, and I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to ever have to deal with that because I've already had enough going on.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, if I'm the only person there as a character, I can't deal with that because nobody's going to think, oh my God, that's a fat chocolata. They're like, that's chocolata.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of started my interest in minor villains. But from there, and as my weight and stuff like that started to not bother me as much, and now I literally cosplay Malone, who I never thought I would have done in the beginning, I have just loved the idea of seeing everyone excited over a character that no one does. And I've seen it firsthand, especially doing Chocolata. I've had people run up to me and tell me that I'm their favorite character and that they never see cosplays of it. And I want to keep doing that because I love the feeling. And it's not even just an attention thing. I know that seeing other cosplayers be able to interact with me is a really cool thing too. Because I've met some of my best friends that way because I stood out of the crowd.
Yeah.
And I still always try to be extra with it. Like, for instance, with Anime NYC, I went to the JoJo meetup at Sorbet. And before that, I had researched Anime NYC's JoJo meetups for the past 5 years to know what characters were there before I chose my character.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be the first.
And I really love that because I was literally just having this conversation with somebody about here in Virginia, like there's JoJo cosplayers, but there aren't a lot of Jotaros, right? So it's just like I'm the only person that does part 4 Jotaro, which I'm just like, I think that's cool. Like,
I love part 4 Jotaro. You're good.
and it's like, I mean, you see part 3 Jotaros a lot, but you don't see a lot of part 4. And there's only one other person that I'm friends with that does part 6 Jotaro. But it's like when I looked at like the JoJo meetup for Anime NYC, like there's a lot of cosplayers that are doing the same character. So I think that it's cool that you're doing characters that aren't the main character, I think
I love that. It's when I was at Anime NYC, all 3 days I had done different characters. First day I went as Chocolata, and my good friend went as Seiko. And that was the first time I had, and it was really cool because their Seiko was at Anime NYC last year. And my friends went last year and sent me photos of the Seiko, and I was just cosplaying Chocolata time. Like, I want to meet them. I want to go to Anime NYC. I want to be their Chocolata. And we became friends, and that actually happened this year.
That's awesome.
And we went and had a really good time.
So, I want to ask you now, since, you mentioned Anime NYC, and then you also mentioned that you had met one of your first followers at a con. I got to know, like, what have been some of your favorite con moments over the years?
Oh, so many. I'm just trying to pinpoint some of the best ones. When I first met Alex Lee, I had him sign a Zucchero print. And when I met him, we started talking, and he recognized my friend who was mirror shown and took a photo of her and sent it to her VA. And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, I wish that would happen to me because I was a John Gallier at the time. And I met John Gallier's VA while I was there. And yes, I did have him sign the butt print. I was the first person ever asked for that, apparently. I have it up my wall. I should have got it down, but I don't feel like getting up to get it. But anyways, I was kind of like, that's really like cool. Like, I wish that someone would do that for me. And months later, I went to DerpyCon in North Jersey, and I met, I think it was Lauren Landa. She was the voice of Mariah and JoJo. That's why I met her. And I had her sign my Mariah print when I was Funny Valentine, and nothing of it. A couple days later, I went on the Sunday because my friend wanted to meet her to get a signature. And she looks at me and she's like, "Wait, you're from Golden Wind?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from Golden Wind." And I had actually was not even supposed to do Chocolata that day. I just decided to do it because I really wanted to. And she's like, "You're Chocolata?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Can I get a photo of you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I'm going to send this to Bill Butts." And I screamed. And my friend next to me, she's like, "Why? Like, who is he?" I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Chocolata's VA."
Yeah, that's the voice actor. Yeah.
And I lost it. I was like, I can't believe that. And now I know that Bill Butts has seen my Chocolata, so I'm hoping to meet him in person eventually someday. But that was one of my favorites. When I met Ray Chase, it was really cool. I met him also at Chocolata. He was just a really cool person in general. But my favorite person that I met was Damon Mills. And so my top 5 JoJo characters, which we have to discuss because I can go into long depths about that because they're all from part 5 mostly.
Okay.
But I met one of my top 3. And I met Scalippi's voice actor, which is Damon Mills. And nobody really likes Scalippi from what I've come to learn. Because I'll talk about him like, "Oh, who's that guy?" I'm like, "Oh, rock guy from In the Elevator with Mista." And I have to clarify it a couple times. But when I went up to meet him, I had my print, I had him sign it, and I was the first person to ever ask him to sign a Scalippi print. And I was so excited, and he gave me a huge hug. I was basically speechless, and I'm not like that when I meet VAs because I've met so many. But I came back to meet him again that Sunday. And I literally walked up and just cried. I was just so happy. Like, he was the sweetest person in the world. He signed on my print. Well, actually, that's over there somewhere. He signed on my print the ending quote of, I can't remember, it's so long. But it's when he basically says, "I cannot help him, I can only pray for his safety." That whole thing.
Yeah.
The one where he's kind of against the wall. I had him sign that. And which is really cool because I had Ray Chase sign Bruno's death quote. And they correlate with each other with Scalippi and Bruno having almost the same exact ending line.
Yeah.
And it was one of my favorites.
Because you're talking about JoJo and, the stuff that happens in Golden Wind, I always love asking this question, but I feel like I already know because, you mentioned it early on that part 5 is your favorite part. So I know that that's your favorite part, but I got to ask you, who is your favorite JoJo?
I'm going to say my favorite character. I was about to have a spasm. But my favorite actual JoJo character, because part 5, I love part 5, but I say favorite because everything I own is part 5.
Yeah.
But I have to say part 3 is probably my absolute favorite because I love Jotaro. Okay. And I thought that part 3 emotionally scarred me more than anything else. I was so destroyed over the ending that when what happened to Abakio happened, it reminded me of what happened in part 3. And I cried again.
To see that, because that was messed up when Abakio died. I was, man, like the way that he died.
And literally, I saw it. I'm like, I was so speechless because at first I cried because I'm like, this reminds me of Kakyoin.
Yep.
And then a few minutes later, when it shows him in the flashback, I lost it again because I'm like,
that flashback.
Are you kidding me? And I love part 5, and I love the way it does, the messaging. I've gone into very long in-depth theories before about just my feelings on how part 5 is and the religious undertones and what the belief of angels is and Judas. And I'm not a religious person myself, but it's just so interesting to see it.
Who's that cosplayer?
Best demiguise.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, like, I never looked at it like that with the comparisons with part 5 and part 3, but I will say that it was sad when Abakio had died, because it's like he was just about to let everybody know what happened. And that's the one thing that I love about JoJo is the callback stuff, because even in Stone Ocean, when Jotaro showed up and he was fighting against Poochie, and when Poochie had moved his eyes, it was a callback to when Jotaro was fighting against Dio.
Yeah.
And when Jotaro started moving his finger, Dio reacted the same way. And like, to anybody that does not like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it's something wrong. Because JoJo, it is such a good story from part 1 all the way to part 6. It's like you can't skip anything. You have to watch every single part so that way that you can appreciate. So, now I want to ask you, who is your favorite villain from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
I'm going to scream. Oh my god. So, I have such an obsession with this character, and as much as people think it's prosciutto, it's not. Because I love prosciutto. I own a lot of prosciutto merch, as well as risotto and La Squadra. But my favorite character is Squalo.
Squalo.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
I know you've talked to him before.
You already do? I was about to bring that up. And,
I watched it before.
Squalo is voiced by Ryan Cote Levy, and you can check out that interview. It is up here on YouTube, or you can listen to the podcast episode. And make sure you follow Ryan, because Ryan is an awesome human being. And
he's amazing.
He does phenomenal voice work in everything that he does. So yeah, but yeah,
I literally love Squalo so much that my family has started just buying me shark stuff. Because I'll be like, I'm like, Squalo means shark in Italian. I'll literally just say that, and they're like, oh, so you like sharks? I'm like, yeah, let's go with that. I love sharks because it reminds me of Squalo. I can go my reasoning, and if Ryan ever listens to this or hears it, I want to apologize to him personally, because I emailed him the other day a very long email about why I love Squalo. But just put it simply, I relate to him very heavily. Topkin, I think that the way he just handles things is just very relatable to me. And that Tiziano is his voice of reason, and that is the brains and the brawn. But he cares so much about Tiziano that he's literally sacrificing everything he can for him. And their fighting dynamics is really beautiful. And I love Tiziano just as much. I just go with Squalo because I just see myself in him a lot. But a really cool introspect in the way I look at it is him and Tiziano were supposed to represent a really healthy relationship with stands that shouldn't even coordinate with each other, working well together. Especially with, Tiziano being part of his mouth. He has a lot of trust in him because Squalo could quite literally drown him at any moment.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there's a lot of trust there, versus with Chocolate and Seiko, their stands sound like they should be perfect together, and yet they still fight. Mm-hmm. One lowers the ground, one works with lower, ground stuff. And yet they fight and make it not work. So I like to think that it was a good way to look into a relationship of toxicity and a healthy actual relationship.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So, now I gotta ask you, because we're getting close to the end of the interview. I gotta know your top 3 favorite cosplays that you've done.
Oh my god. So I love Sorbet. I brought out my prop for him. I made this myself a while ago. It's a VHS tape, and it says Sorbet Gelato on the bottom. I use it for Chocolata. I love showing people cons. I'll flip it at them. I'll be like, look at this. And I'll show it. And a lot of people really like my Sorbet, and people know me for Sorbet sometimes. Like, when I was in Home App, I was recognized at the meetup, and I was at Malone at the time. And they said to me, they're like, oh my god, you're that Sorbet at Anime NYC. I'm like, how the hell do you know that? I didn't say anything. I said my name, and they're like, and somebody said it, and a couple people started freaking out, like, oh my god, you are, what are you doing down here? Because I flew down to Florida.
Yeah.
And finally, people were pulling up their Instagram to show up my Sorbet, and I was like, oh my god, I never expected that.
Yeah.
That definitely Fugo. I don't do him as often because he's actually one of the characters where I was called the fat version of Fugo. And I brought him back for Otakon and was in a group. We did really well with it. We did all the Passione, well, the main group plus Diablo Fugo. And it was really good, but then I put him away for a while until Anime NYC. And what I did, I made a prop for him the day before the con. I made him a Luzo, which is the first ever like full-on prop I made. And it came out to be really well because people recognize me as Fugo with a Luzo or with a mirror.
Yeah.
And I've had many people message me asking me, hey, are you going to like tell us how to make it? I'm like, it's really simple. And I gotta go to a whole list of how to do it. And third, Chocolate. I have to. He's my oldest cosplay and he's ever changing. And every time I do him, I believe that I'm showing more and more of my skill on it. Because I first started out with just his regular outfit. And I'm like, I hate this. I got rid of it. And I got the scrub version along with the jacket. And with it, I added mold to the bottom. To the bottom of the pants. I added it to the jacket. And every single con I've been to, I always add something new to it. Whether it be the paint work, whether it be a prop, whether it be me restyling the wig. I've restyled that wig so many times, I don't think about it. But I had gotten pro photos done as Chocolate in home mat. So I wanted to look the absolute best I could. And I went and I hand painted everything. I was crying the night before home mat, before I had to fly down. Because I still had so much to do with Malone. I had so much to do with all them. I'm like, no one's going to like my stuff. No one's going to like that. I hand sewed Malone myself. So I was worried, I'm like, this isn't going to hold up to get well. And Malone is a close fourth, though, because, like, but he's so new to me.
Yeah.
That he's not exactly my favorite. Maybe a few more cons down the line. But for as it stands, I am really proud of where I've gotten. And my makeup, to me, is really my healing journey.
Yeah. Because, like, just being honest with you, like, just looking at your makeup right now, it looks so lifelike, and it's like I keep on looking at it when you're talking and whatnot. And I don't know why. Like I'm very imaginative.
Yeah.
So it's like the way I'm just looking, I'm just like, how is this working right now? Like, what is this?
It's like my phone was being weird, but can I give a quick little rundown of how I did it?
Go ahead.
So this is my third time ever doing SFX. I should start with that. Both times before were sorbet, and one time I helped out with a friend to do Sukuna, but that would turn out decent, I guess. But so I chose sorbet to do because it's extra.
Yeah.
Because showing up to a con of chocolate is one thing, but saying, "Hey, I'm the guy you killed," is another story. Because I've done gelato as well, and I did gelato actually 2 days after I got back from Anime NYC. Because I'm like, I want to just complete all this. My goal is to cosplay every single character in Golden Wind.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make that goal happen because I'm so determined. Call me Giorno Giovanna for that one.
I love that because it's like you have a dream. That is so awesome, Talia. And
it's like, this isn't my most heavy JoJo makeup, and I would definitely credit that to being either Chocolate or Malone with the line work. This is more done through the SFX. This took about 4 hours to do. Mm-hmm. And then everything else with the blood adding was a little extra time. And then put the contacts in. I was on the phone with a friend. And it would make time pass by much easier. But it's mostly done, actually, funny enough, with toilet paper. Mm-hmm. It's latex mixed with toilet paper that I literally make into like almost like a Mod Podge. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's cheaper. I try to cheap a lot on my stuff because I do a lot and I need to save money. So I usually just will make up a mixture and I slowly will start to pat it down. And from that point, I just keep adding layer upon layer. And then I take a pair of either scissors or a box cutter and I slice through them. Which before has resulted in me losing my eyebrow. But
oh, God.
Shit happens.
No,
anything to look good,
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, man. I mean, like, I did my Kisame for the first time last year, and when I did it, it took me about like a good 40 to 45 minutes to just apply all the makeup and make sure that everything was right. So it's like I totally understand when you're doing makeup, you want to make sure that it looks good before you film a TikTok or before you go out there on the con floor, because this is like when your makeup is on point, everybody's gonna be talking about it. And one person that I interviewed, Tequila Joestar, like his makeup is phenomenal. Like just the lines and everything when they do their JoJo cosplays.
Yeah, I've seen.
Like,
We're mutuals actually.
Awesome.
They were the one who told me about you and everything like that. So, you know, we're here.
Hey, look, that's what always happens. And y'all make sure that y'all check out Tequila Joestar's interview. It is up here on YouTube as well. And so, you know, Talia, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me up here on Who's That Cosplayer. And
may I give a parting word?
What was that?
I wanted to give a little parting word.
Oh, yeah. Well, hold on before you say that, because I just want to say one thing, because I do have one more question for you. But I just wanted to say, you know, F those people that, you know, called you the bigger versions of the characters, because at the end of the day, cosplay is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be for everyone. And I feel like those people, just like when I interviewed Chris Woe, like when he had said that if somebody can't comment on the quality and the time and energy that you use into making your cosplay, and they can only comment on something negative, those people are just shitty people. And I mean,
I love Woe Chris.
Yeah, Chris Woe is awesome. And y'all check out Chris Woe's interview. It is up here on YouTube. But yeah, Talia, go ahead and say what you were going to say.
So this is a lesson that I had to learn this year, and I didn't want to have to learn it because it came back to bite me in the ass. But I used to be a perfectionist. I had to be the best. I couldn't let anybody be better than me. And I used to get so upset. And I had an incident at Otakon where I had actually had a breakdown when I was in a straight toe cosplay, because I believed, I'm like, I look like shit. I said, my makeup's running. I said, no one knows who I am. No one likes me. And I just went through this whole process of that. And afterwards, I set myself to be, I got to be perfect. I have to be perfect. I have to keep adjusting. I can't be half-assed. And I learned the lesson during DerpyCon that it's okay to fuck up. And that, you know what, keeping the mentality of always being, you know, this is what I tell myself. I was at home and my pants ripped. And I was chocolate, and it was like the front part of my crotch. And if I was me earlier this year, I would have cried. I would have left. I would have had a miserable weekend. But I laughed and I looked at my friends. I said, that seems canon. And there's literally a couple photos of me sewing my pants back together. And I'm just laughing. And like, it was followed up by a JoJo meetup where I literally threw sugar cubes at people. So I kept myself in good spirits because, you know what, like, it's canon. Like, Chocolate would do that. He would rip his pants. Like, he's not going to sit there and bitch about it. And I try to keep that spirit now. And I definitely feel like it's definitely not like just even humbled me, but it's made me feel like I appreciate other cosplayers more. And that I believe that if you're able to work with a mistake or work with an accident that happens, that you are much stronger than somebody who comes being perfect all the time.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on that, man. And, you know, I think that when it comes to cosplay and stuff like that, instead of, you know, looking at something negative that possibly might happen, as long as you stay positive and stay in high spirits, then like what happened to you, it's like that stuff doesn't even matter because you're just laughing and having a good time. And
it's like, oh, it's canon. That's the way I look at it. Anything goes wrong, it's canon.
Yep. So my final question for you before I let you go is, what is one goal that you would like to achieve this year?
My goal, I want to get licensed to practice makeup. I have been offered a few opportunities by people at all different cons to do their makeup, to come and help. And I'm hoping that once I get a license, or even before that, like, I want to guest. I want to be a guest, especially at Fan Expo Philadelphia. That's my goal. That's my home con. And I want to start applying, and I just want to be able to meet people and talk to people because I love that so much about cons, and that's why I travel for them. I want to meet new people, and that's another goal is I want to see more people, and I want to meet cool cosplayers. I've met so many new people, especially when I was a home at. I ran into 2 new Seikos when I was Chocolata. I was freaking out because it wasn't planned. They came as Seiko. And I met other people who were doing like Bright Gal, then there was people doing Terrence and Daniel Darby, and I was like, oh my god, like I don't see this up where I'm at. Like up in New York, my friends did Fall and Tiziano, which was amazing by the way. But I was like, that's really cool. But I want to see more of people who are doing it and not feeling I have an obligation.
Yeah.
Because I've done groups where people are like, oh, I don't really like this character, but I'm just here as them.
Yeah,
and,
I feel you on that.
And like that's kind of how I feel like was what my friends did as Fall and Tiziano. Like I know the one that was passionate about it, I didn't know about the other one, and I didn't want them, and it just kind of was like they were just kind of there to be there kind of thing. They looked amazing about it though, so I'll give them that. But then I went down to home at where I didn't know anybody besides maybe one person. And when I was there, I met so many cool people who were doing like Heaven Ascended Dio, and I was like, wow, like you're doing that on your own free will.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's more people like me who do rare characters, and I was the only person there was La Squadra. And I remember people were coming to me freaking out about it, and I was freaking out over there. I saw Wamu, I saw Cars, I saw AC/DC. And as each day went on, I saw more and more. And I was like, I've never seen these cosplays. I've only seen like people online do them sometimes. And even then, they don't even really go all out for them.
Yeah. Exactly.
So to see somebody just as passionate about a rare character as I am is the reason why I keep going to cons. Because I just want to keep going to more and more different places. I want to go to California. I want to go to Anime Expo eventually. And I want to see what basically the cosplay community has to offer for me.
Well, hey, look, you speak it into existence, and like I always say, when you speak it into existence, it happens. So, thank you so much for joining me up here on a brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer. And before I let you go, let everybody in social media land know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok. Oh my god, can't even think today. As Chocolate Moldman. That's all one word. It is a reference to Chocolata. It was a joke from a friend, actually, while I was in the hospital, because they said, oh, you're just going to cosplay that Chocolate Moldman. And it stuck, and now it's probably my tagline, and I love it. So you can find me there, and I'm slowly adding more and more to my social media, so check out my link trees eventually.
Awesome. Hey, and y'all know where y'all can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me on Facebook as Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you, everybody, for watching this interview. Make sure you check out some more interviews we have here on the channel, along with reviews and reaction videos. Check out our podcast. We have brand new episodes every Tuesday.
Watch Ryan's, please.
Yes. Please watch Calia's interview when it comes out. And check out all the interviews that we have up here. Thank you all of the cosplayers that come up here on Who's That Cosplayer, because everybody's awesome. And like I always say, stay positive. Keep that pinky up. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.